integration and transformation. 2024 ISDB Group Annual Meetings and Golden Jubilee, celebrating 50 years of impact, innovation, and partnership. Cherishing our past, charting our future.
نحن نخدم الإنسانية.
Welcome to the heart of innovation, where the sand dunes of time meet the waves of progress. Welcome to Riyadh, the pulsating capital of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. In the cradle of civilization, where...
Good afternoon. Afternoon, colleagues. Welcome to this 2024 ISDB Governance Dialogue with His Excellency Mateta Sajda, the Governor of the ISDB from Uganda. This is going to be a conversation between me and the Governor in trying to discuss economic situation in Uganda. But before I go to that, I wanted just to, by way of introduction, just say a few words on the Ugandan economy, and then we can start the conversation. Uganda is nestled in the heart of East Asia, boasts a resilient yet complex economy characterized by fluctuating growth rates and a deteriorated debt position. Despite facing a myriad of challenges, including climate change, rapid population growth, and hosting the largest refugee population in Africa, Uganda has demonstrated commendable efforts in navigating its economic trajectory. With a GDP growth rate outpacing global and regional averages, the nation has sought to foster productivity-enhancing and inclusive growth while grappling with consequences of its debt burden. Over the past few decades, Uganda has embarked on a journey of proactive debt management. However, despite initial successes in reducing debt levels, the country has faced a resurgence of debt in the recent years, exacerbated by factors such as low tax revenues, reduced official development assistance, high spending and high level of interest rate. And as the global economy grapples with the high interest rate, Uganda finds itself at a critical juncture, requiring strategic interventions to manage its debt burden effectively. It is against this backdrop that we're having this conversation, which is going to be mainly revolving around managing debt stress. So we're going to have three segments in this conversation. The first segments will try to understand the impact of high global interest rate on debt sustainability. And the second will delve with the mitigation measures, while the last section will be on policy recommendation and policy measures. So, Excellency, I'll try to really understand what the current situation in Uganda is and how the high global interest rates affected Uganda debt sustainability. If you could just shed some light on that.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I bring greetings from the people of Uganda, particularly our President, Yoweri Museveni. They appreciate very much the efforts and assistance that has been rendered to the country by this bank. Now, we've been moving very well. The economy is moving now at about 5%. If it hadn't been for COVID, the economy was now moving maybe 6-7%. But then COVID brought us back. Now, on the question of interest rates, for sure, they also are making life difficult to borrow because, as I have said somewhere else, I don't want to mortgage the country by borrowing. But there are good Samaritans, I would say, that are giving us credit at fairly concessional rates. Some institutions have also given us money as grant, although that is not enough. We still need much resources to work on fundamentally about 3-4 things. One, infrastructure, roads, railway. We want a railway now to move from Malaba. Malaba is the boundary between Kenya and Uganda because the railway is one of the cheapest modes of transportation. So we are working and struggling to make sure that that railway line is constructed. Tenders have been given away, and any time we will be wanting to get that railway, standard gauge railway, as soon as possible. Roads, as I said, we need them. Airports, we need them. Finally, as you know, Uganda, we have discovered oil, but we still have a challenge to get that resource out in terms of two things. One, a refinery. We want a refinery. We have engaged various business people. Some have let us down, others have agreed, but we will be sorting out that question of the refinery in a very short time. Two, we have agreed also that some of the oil, we must export it in crude form. So the question of the pipeline, all the way from Hoima is where the oil was discovered, to transit and go up to Dar es Salaam. What is the Tanga? Tanga port is having some challenges, but again, Tanzania has moved very well. Uganda is still not doing so well for two reasons. One, land. In Uganda, land belongs to the people, does not belong to the state. If you want to pass your pipeline through my land, you must compensate me. So that has delayed the process mainly. Then roads, we are doing very well. We've been doing very well on roads, but as the population now is increasing, you know, Uganda, our population is moving very, very fast. We need to, first of all, maintain the roads already that have already been constructed, which is a good job. If I had a map here, I would show you the number of roads that we have tarmacked. But because of the population pressures, people are getting richer, movements are moving, are many. Some of these roads now are getting a little bit damaged, and then we need money for repairing them. Second, the third, maybe finally, the question of job creation. I can't leave this meeting without telling you this. You know, Uganda, we are a bit prolific. The average birth of children per woman now in Uganda is between 4 to 5 children. Now, those children must be catered, first of all, education. Food, the good thing in Uganda, food is not a problem, except when we get like hailstones, like winds, and they destroy the crops. Ugandans are very hard working as far as farming is concerned, but at times when we get like about 2, 3, 4 days, we get hailstone, and it destroyed, first of all, houses, but also destroyed agricultural crops. Otherwise, these children need to be catered for through education. To, after they have got the education, the question now is, what will they do? So the issue now of employment, anything that can really help us to create jobs, I welcome. That's why everywhere I have gone, I'm inviting people to come and invest in the country, factories, services, and so forth, so that these children, as they come out of institution of learning, completing their degrees or diplomas, they will get a job. If we're not careful on that one, then there could be some little problem. You know, these children are educated, they are smart. Now, when you don't give them a job, it becomes, and I don't want them to be running out of the country. That's also not good.
Yeah,
we need them to come and develop the country.
That's true.
So,
Yeah.
mainly those are the two challenges.
No, this is very good. But Excellencies, you've highlighted a lot of need for resources. There's a lot of need for funding, for infrastructure, for the social sectors and all these things. How do you reconcile the debt position that you have now with this need for funding?
The funding?
Yes. How do you think that you're going to be able to leverage financing for all these different sectors when your debt situation is not that favorable?
No, we are very careful on borrowing, as I said.
Yes.
We are very, very careful to such an extent that when I must borrow, I must look at the tenure. 2, I must look at the interest rate. 3, I must look at how quickly, because some we have engaged in certain financiers, you engage them, it's 3-4 years down the road, the money has not been disbursed. Many times things, as I told you, are moving. So, interest rate, the speed at which the implementation comes, and the disbursement as they come. Otherwise, I think that's what I can say on that one, on that subject.
But can you elaborate a little bit on the challenges you face in managing debt?
In managing debt?
Yes, the challenges that you've been facing.
The challenge really is simply to get the money and begin to pay back. Because if some of these loans, they are not purposely for production, you know, but for production. They are meant for giving facilities. For example, if I borrow money from here and go to build a hospital, I don't expect to get money from the hospital. I don't expect that there will be an inflow of cash into the treasury as that of the project. But it's only with a hospital, you will get good, they get health people. People will come and get into the hospital who are sick, and then when they are treated, they come back, and then they come back now to work and create wealth in their various enterprises. But what I'm mainly now interested as far as that issue is concerned of borrowing for production. I borrow to do an industry. I borrow to help farmers to produce wealth. And as I said now, with our oil, definitely we will have to borrow quite a many. We have already started borrowing so that this oil is eventually go to a market, and then there will be a stream of money coming back into the country.
Excellent. Now, I take note of the different elements like the interest rate, the cost of borrowing.
Yes.
And the servicing of the debt is a challenge.
Yes, it's a challenge.
Yeah.
And as I said, I am very cautious on this. When I take a loan, I can tell you that really we could look at very many things. This loan, what is it coming to do that will increase the economy of the country? so that we avoid, as I've seen in some other jurisdictions, you get money, you do certain things that do not produce capacity to produce either goods or services which would help you, where you will be able to tax them in order to get back the money, and this money would now the money that would be servicing the loan.
Yeah. Now, can you help us understand a little bit how the global interest rate increase has affected the cost of borrowing for Uganda? Because I'm sure you have a structure of your debt, and how did it affect that situation? And then also, how did it affect the servicing of that debt? I'm suppose that you're paying millions of dollars of debt service per year, but how can you tell us a little bit about how the global interest rate has affected your cost of borrowing and then the servicing of the debt?
Well, I think this is universal in my view. With certain forces in interplay, borrowing, at the beginning, we were a little bit anxious to do many things using borrowed money, as I have said. But today, we are very cautious. On the cost of that borrowing.
Yes.
Two, when this money is borrowed, how is it utilized? And I have told you now the emphasis is to be utilized to increase capacity of people and also the capacity of the country to produce more goods and services.
Now, this is very clear, and your efforts in managing the debt is commendable because we see that you've been very cautious and going to the debt, and then you improving the quality of the spending and the quality of the debt. That's really, really good.
I will give you an example, moderator.
Yes.
It's a pity one of my young officers is not here. Okay. There is UDB, Uganda Development Bank. She is around, but I think she's busy elsewhere. She will testify to you. We assist her to take loans, and these loans are basically meant to help people in agriculture, to take people, to help people who are in tourism, where we think that Uganda is one of the most beautiful countries. Don't think that I'm blowing my trumpet. It's one of the most beautiful countries I think that I have seen around the world. But the essence is production of wealth or increasing the capacity of the population, either in terms of studies or in terms of themselves being producers of wealth.
Excellent. Now, I would like to switch a little bit gears to move to the second segment of the discussion, which is going to revolve around mitigation measures in terms of debt sustainability, just to understand a little bit more. What are the proactive measures that you have been taking to mitigate the risk associated with the high
interest rates?
Yes, the measures.
As I said, first of all, it's a pity one of my officers, we don't have somebody who is very deeply involved with the dates. We take careful study. Before we really commit ourselves in taking a date. And as I've told you, I don't want to repeat myself, that loan, what is it going, or how is it going to help the expansion of the economy or to help the human capital, so that when the time, first of all, the negotiations, we are very cautious about the short term loans. You take a loan today, and somebody is telling you 2 years down the road that you start paying, and with interest. That one we are very cautious, because I've told you, we don't want to find ourselves in a very difficult situation, as I've heard in some other countries, the banks particularly closing on you. No. We are really very cautious again, as I said.
And can you tell us a little bit about the alternative sources of funding, starting from domestically, what you have been doing, and then maybe earlier you talked about having some grants and concessional funding. What are you looking at in terms of that? And as you may know, the ISDB is trying to come up with some kind of concessional window. I would like you also to tell us your views of how concessionality should help you really manage that situation.
Date, many concessional?
Yes, the concessional funding.
Well, that one I would do. I would open the hands and say, brother, thank you very much. Hey, that one, if you give me a friend that can give me a concessional loan, right, or a grant, oh, then you are one of my biggest friends.
Yeah. So you know that we are trying to work towards that, and your support will be much interested. I think that you're going to see in the governor's roundtable, yes, there is a discussion around concessional windows. So we'll be happy to have your support there.
Thank you.
But if you want to come to this domestic kind of resource mobilization, can you tell us a little bit more about how you're going about it in Uganda?
Domestic mobilization. Some time back, we used domestic borrowing from the banks, our banks. But lately, we have got a new thinking, because, as you may know, debt to GDP, Moses, debt to GDP now is at what? 40. Yeah, 40%. That is a very high.
That's not very high.
40 is too high. As far as I'm concerned, 40 is a bit high. It's a bit high. But of course, as I said, even as a businessman, me, I'm a farmer and a businessman by profession. I can take a loan well calculated that when it comes to me, I will be able to increase my capacity of what I'm doing, particularly if you are producing something which you know there is already a market. That is not a problem. But to borrow, for example, to build a university, yes, the university, you will build the capacity for your people to become more knowledgeable and so forth. But how soon will they be able to come and contribute to the economy? So that's the criteria we go on.
Okay. Now, I'm just going to move a little bit into policies, like reforms. And then I would like to know how domestic policies has helped strengthen the resilience to the debt distress situation.
Domestic policies?
Yes. Which one you have been taken recently?
Yes.
To really going towards more resilient economy to debt.
I have not captured you well. Can you repeat the question?
Just trying to understand if there have been some domestic policies or reforms that you have put in place to better manage debt distress. Is there anything to manage debt?
Or to manage
distress?
debt. As I think I have alluded already on something, debt, the way now we are managing it is, as I've said, for every borrowing, we try to take it if it has a long tenure.
Yes.
But if you ask me, can you, Minister, take up a loan that you will start paying interest in the following year? Unless, of course, like other businesses, if it is going to generate revenue or to solve a problem that will be able to generate revenue, then you go for it. But otherwise, we want long term, as I said, long term, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and then giving us a good grace period. You give me a loan, and then you say next year you start repaying. That one, as I told you, we are trying to avoid that one. If you, of course, if you give me a loan and say take it, go and start working with it, start paying back in 10 years. The interest rate also is manageable in accordance with the market. Then I agree. But otherwise, we are shy on that one, I must say.
Okay. And how about the fiscal policy?
Fiscal policy?
Yes. Did you have any like tax collection measures or fiscal measures, expanding the tax base to make sure that you can get resources to fund?
Absolutely. We are struggling now with our tax organization, Uganda Revenue Collection. That's one. Two, we are, in fact, recently, and the problem is not yet sorted out. Our traders, not all of them, but others, they were trying to evade taxes, and then we introduced a technology, IFRIS, to make sure that they trace you if you have not given taxes after you have done some sale, then you get in a problem. We had a big battle, and the battle is still around, but they are arguing from a position of not understanding the dynamics of an economy, and we are engaging them sooner than later. They even closed the shop, and they protested and whatnot. I talked to them. I took them to the president. He talked to them, and I think they are beginning to see the point. The only problem is that actually my staff of the Uganda Revenue Authority did not teach them. They did not. It's a new technology. It's a new phenomena which these traders are not familiar. So they reacted. They said, no, we are not going to, we are closing. They closed the shop, but eventually we have started with them, and we are beginning to educate them. And sooner than later, the problem will be sorted out.
Okay. Now, looking at the taxation issue again, just trying to see what are the alternative sources of finance. Are you thinking of leveraging the diaspora to, for example, issue bonds to make sure that you can get long-term funding that you need for infrastructure development? Not looking only on domestically, but looking at the diaspora.
The diaspora.
Is there any attempt to do any diaspora bonds or financing?
Oh, yes. First of all, you know, there are many Ugandans out of Uganda, spread all over, I'm sure, even here. they must be here. Because some would like to go and get what we call a quick kill, particularly where there are no jobs in the country that would satisfy those individuals. So we engage them. First of all, we encourage them to meet the money which they have earned outside Uganda back to Uganda. And we encourage them when they return with that money, either they lend it to government at concessional rate, or they invest that money in projects which they are capable of running, in addition with our commercial bank and even our central bank in Uganda.
Okay. And now I'll move now to the last section, which is more policy implications and in building a resilient economy. So
improving what?
now I'm moving to the last section, which is going to be on policy implications on how to build a resilient economy. A resilient economy.
The resilience of the economy.
Yes. Yes, my question would be more policy oriented and then combining at the intersection of the global interest rate and the debt stress in Uganda. What are the major policies that you guys have been putting in place, or the lesson learned? If you take the experience of high debt, high interest rate, what are the lessons for an economy like Uganda?
Well, the lessons I hope we all know. Maybe the part of the second part of your question would be, how are you moving on you talked of diaspora.
Yes, that was the previous question. Yeah, the diaspora was the previous question. But now I'm just moving into trying to see what are the major lessons learned from this experience of high interest rate, debt sustainability issues. What have we learned in Uganda?
What have we learned? Oh, that is an easy question. We have learned, as I said earlier on, be cautious on borrowing expensive money. That's a lesson that we learned, and we are broadcasting around the country and even our neighbors. Two, make sure when you are borrowing, the tenure. Borrowing money and someone tells you you start paying the installments 2-3 years is something that we very critically examine. In other words, we would want this loan, if we get it, we fund using that loan a project that will also quickly begin to produce what it is supposed to produce, so that what the project produces, we tax. When we tax, we then begin to service the loan. But if it is now to say we have borrowed and the project for which we have borrowed will begin to bear fruit 10 years, when you have begin to pay back either interest or even the installments in 5 years, that one now becomes a crucial thing unless it is really going for a project that is really very vital for the economy.
Yeah, and then, I mean, I hear you, Excellency, on the need to be careful, the need to look at the tenure of the loan, and then how you borrow. But you still have this kind of dilemma, where on the one hand you need to finance big ticket items like infrastructure, health, education, and so on, and at the other side you have this debt sustainability issues. How do you balance? How do you make a balance between the two?
You must balance, I've told you. You really must balance the needs in the economy. We understand them very well. Education, water, electricity, infrastructure of roads, the rail line, as I've told you. Now I am now struggling with an airline as well. We must try to see when this loan comes, we put it in a sector that will also begin to produce certain things for contributing to the interest rate and also the servicing the loan.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I have answered your question.
Yes, no, this is good. Now I have a question that is more broader, which gonna touch into how are you gonna, in this context, promote inclusive growth, strengthen domestic resource mobilization, and then diversify the economy, because you're now producing oil, minerals, and all that. How do you gonna make the move now to diversification in this context, while making sure there is an inclusive growth at the same time?
Inclusive growth.
Yes.
Now, when we talk about inclusive growth, are you talking about the human capital? What I've not understood.
There is the shared prosperity, shared growth that is equally distributed, that can be impact the most vulnerables and so on. How can you make that happen in this context where you have a lot of things to do, and then maybe diversification is one way to do that?
First of all, we have got what we call the national plan. Now we are running 3, but we soon go embark on 4. Everything that we want to handle is embedded in that plan. And if it is not in that plan, then we normally we do not entertain, particularly the issue of borrowing money for that item that is not in the national development plan, because there we shall lose sight of the thing that actually that we have planned for, and that would be really wrong management of the economy, in my view.
Okay. Now look, that brings me to the end of our conversation. Let me see now if there is any comment or questions from the audience. Yes, sir. Can you give him a mic, please? You don't have mic?
Thank you, Excellency, for these remarks, and thank you also for ISDB for the Golden Jubilee. Congratulations. It's an honor to be here. My name is Jussi Ojala. I come from Finland, from Finn Church Aid, and we are very active in your beautiful country, Mr. Minister, especially on the education sector. But we are also firmly in the sectors that you have been talking about the productive sectors and supporting the economy, namely the SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises. So we are one of those investors actually through our FCA investments that we are investing in growth-oriented sustainable SMEs with patient capital and crucially providing services also that these companies thrive and they have the capacities to handle the funding that they are receiving and produce those sustainable jobs. So thank you for these remarks already, and what I maybe want to emphasize is that how we have found it crucial not only to work with your ministry and then the SMEs. We just 1 week ago organized a roundtable on SMEs together with the government actors, the Federation of SMEs, and hearing really about the constraints from the SMEs themselves that they see in sustainable finance. So look forward that we continue this work in partnership with you, but also then with the Islamic Development Bank. So Dr. Idrissu and his team at the regional hub are doing excellent work, and we really think that such kind of tripartite cooperation can really yield results. If I have a question, then it would be about the SMEs, Mr. Minister. If you can still share your views that how do you see the SME sector in supporting the economy of the country, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
SMEs, they are nice. As you hear SMEs, small enterprises. The population in Uganda, especially among the youth, they belong to that category. They cannot access big money, and even their knowledge and level of entrepreneurship is small. So when we get a good Samaritan like you, first of all, normally what happens normally is first of all to first brief and educate these particularly younger people on how to run business, on how to save money, on how to look for markets, and so forth. So those SMEs, in my view, and I've told you, my problem now in Uganda today, and which could cause problems tomorrow, is the question of jobs. Now, those SMEs, they are helping. They are helping to absorb these youth who are coming from institutions like universities, like colleges, and so forth, to be able, first of all, to cooperatively run an enterprise, creating jobs for others, and government is most willingly helping them in the way, in the best way possible. And I want to encourage you. You work with them, give them skills and efficiency in doing what they are doing. Because some time back, those SMEs were having problems. They would come, form a company, and then 2, 3, 4 years down the road, the company has collapsed. because they are not faithful among themselves. Someone will take money out of the enterprise, whoosh, disappears. So my request is that you continue now, educate these people, guide them, so that they even could now graduate from being SMEs, they become now to big producers of wealth. So I congratulate on you on that one. I wish when you come back to Kampala, come to my office and we chat more. We'll give you all the support. You know the youth, there are not many. There are very many. So I'm worried, I'm telling you again, I'm telling you my problem. At times, of course, my president doesn't seem to be having on the same wavelength with me. He says, no, you Kasaija, you also get frightened for nothing. No. I see some problem, definitely. A problem. Those youth, we must really cater for them to be good citizens, to have good jobs, so that because when you leave them and they start roaming, that is going to be now another issue, which I don't want to witness.
Thank you.
I urge you, please continue. And as I said, if you think government, you would want government to give some helping hand, I am ready. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. Any other comments or questions from? Yes.
Thank you, moderator. I just wanted to emphasize some point the governor raised on what we are doing to ensure that our debt remains sustainable. One of the things is now looking at what you're borrowing for, like he emphasized, that we don't borrow for everything. We are actually borrowing for infrastructure, mostly, and we try as much as possible to borrow concessionally. I know concessional loans are not there. We are having a problem, especially with the external interest rates, which are between 8 and 12%. And that is, when you borrow that money, it's not sustainable. So we have been declining a number of loans that have been given to us. Two, we are looking at domestic revenue mobilization. We have a domestic revenue mobilization strategy where we are raising revenues at 0.5% points of GDP per year. But that is the minimum, but we are now trying to push. And this is being done in two ways, on the policy front and on the compliance front. We've noticed that our tax to GDP is at 14%, but we can go up to 20%. So it's that gap that we are really trying to face. Three, we are looking at the quality of our expenditure, because we have been spending on a lot of things, but now we are looking at the quality of our expenditure, and we are stopping to finance certain activities that we don't think are going to lead to growth. Four, we have a strategy we are designing on how to grow the economy tenfold, from $50 billion where it is now to $500 billion within 10 years. And we are saying agro-industrialization, tourism, manufacturing, and then the services sector. Especially we are looking at also artificial intelligence and so on. So these are things that we are looking at going forward. And we think we'll be able to grow our economy faster than the debt we are incurring. Thank you so much.
Good.
Thank you very much for your comments and for adding for what the governor has already shared. I think that we are at the end of this session, so I would like the audience to join me in thanking His Excellency for making the time and for this conversation. And then looking forward to seeing you around and then in the other sessions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And maybe a picture with you, Mr. Governor. Can you have a
Let's
picture
stand up.
for us?
Let's stand up. Let's stand up, please.
Can we stand up?
نحن نخدم الإنسانية.
Welcome to the heart of innovation, where the sand dunes of time meet the waves of progress. Welcome to Riyadh, the pulsating capital of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. In the cradle of civilization, where dreams soar higher than the desert dunes, a beacon of hope rises. For 5 decades, the ISDB has been a catalyst for change, empowering nations and transforming lives. As we celebrate half a century of resilience, determination, and progress, join us for a monumental event under the patronage of the custodian of the 2 holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. Ministers, policymakers, industry leaders, and changemakers from 57 member countries and many partner organizations will converge to better shape the future of sustainable development. From 27th to 30th of April 2024, Riyadh will be the epicenter of global dialogue and collaboration. Join us as we continue this collective journey of collaboration, inspiration, and transformation. 2024 ISDB Group Annual Meetings and Golden Jubilee, celebrating 50 years of impact, innovation, and partnership. Cherishing our past, charting our future.
نحن نخدم الإنسانية.